I would like for you to take a look at the front of your bulletin to verse 20, if you will. If you are angry, you cannot do any of the good things that God wants you to do. I want to focus my thoughts this morning on the idea of anger. I am convinced that we live in the United States right now in what I call a culture of anger. We have polarized ourselves, and it doesn't matter whether it's on religious basis, political basis, economic basis. We have literally chosen sides, and we are throwing stones back and forth at each other. I'm convinced that if a Republican came up with a good idea, that no Democrat would be able to recognize it. If a Democrat came up with a good idea, no Republican would be able to recognize it. And we can just substitute groups in there all the way around. We just are so angry that we're more focused on keeping the group in one place, walled up, walled in, and fighting in that situation. I ask my question, how did we get here? I'm not sure. I think some of it has to do with 9/11, 9 years ago. I think some of it has to do with the pain and the hurt and the brokenness we felt when the towers went down. Our enemy attacked us. We like to give that enemy all kinds of names, but it was evil. It was evil that went and brought the towers down. And I'm not talking about Muslim or Islam or Arab or anyone else. It was evil in that plane that day that flew into the towers to destroy human beings. You see, evil likes to take life and turn it into death. And it happens all over, not just at the Twin Towers. It happens in our lives, it happens in our families, it happens in the church. And we live in a culture of anger. It's easier to be angry than it is to do the hard things that Jesus asked us to do. James refers to the perfect law. Love one another and love God with all of your being. And then he explains it in Matthew. Remember in Matthew? It's been said you should hate your enemies. I say love your enemies and pray for them. It's been said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But Jesus said no more. If someone hits you on the right cheek, turn the left cheek. If somebody wants your coat, give them your second coat. If somebody wants you to go a mile, go a second mile. Those are difficult words in good culture, in a culture of compassion and caring. They're even more difficult in our culture of hatred and bitterness. See, angry is one of those reactions we have when someone hurts us or takes something from us or tries to destroy something that's in life in us. We get angry. And we flare up, and we may scream, we may kick, we may fight back, we may throw stones, but that expression of anger comes in many, many, many forms. The problem with it is that when we hold that anger, and we keep it inside of us, it turns to resentment. And then it turns to bitterness. And then it becomes concrete, and now we become an angry person. And once we become an angry person, almost everything that comes out of us has couched in, flows in, speaks in anger. And we fight, and we yell, and we scream, and we draw circles in the sand, and we stand inside, and we say, no one can ever touch me, I will throw them all away. And we think we can be happy living in anger. What I have found is that anger locks out God's ability to love. Not that God doesn't love us, but when we are angry, we cannot feel that love. We cannot feel that compassion. We cannot let it in because anger overrides every possible scenario. Let me share a story with you, and perhaps you've heard it, that I heard many, many years ago. It was in a farming community. A farmer had a daughter who was about 5, just starting kindergarten. And every time she would leave her house to get on the bus, the neighbor next to him had a large dog, and the dog would run out of the house and try to attack her. The father of the girl went to the dog's owner and said, "Please, please lock up your dog." Or "Please, please put him on a chain." And the dog's owner said, "No, this is my dog. My dog can go where my dog wants to, and I'm not chaining him up." One day, on the way from the bus to the house, the dog attacked the little girl, and she died. The town became furious. They got together in the center of town, and they decided that the only thing left to do was to hate the owner of the dog. So they went and they got the dog, and they killed the dog. And they made a vow they wouldn't sell him groceries, they wouldn't sell him anything. Spring planting season came, and they thought that the circle wasn't big enough, so they went to the neighboring town, and the town after that, and the town after that, and they made everybody promise they would not sell this dog owner seed to plant his fields, and he would have to leave their midst, and they would be rid of him. About 2 weeks into the planting season, somebody from town walked by, and behind the dog owner's house, wheat was beginning to grow. He went to the mayor, and they called a town meeting. And they said, "Did you sell him seed? Did you sell him seed? Did you sell him seed? Did you sell him seed?" Somebody did. Who did it? And they had an angry fight in the middle of town. And finally, the little girl's father stood in the middle of the circle, and he said, "I sold him seed. In fact, I sold the grain in the field." And the town member said, "Why would you do that?" He said, "I've watched us over the past months, and we've become so consumed with anger that we become bitter. And we can no longer love each other because of our bitterness. So I planted the seed, so this could be over as a sign of forgiveness." I tell you that story because so many times we get caught up in that cycle. And I think somehow the United States has got caught up in that cycle. We've got caught up in that cycle of anger, that cycle of bitterness, to the point where we're willing to burn a sacred book of another religion when we have no time for someone whose ideas are different from ours, where we would rather fight than have conversation, where we close our ears rather than listen. I don't think God ever intended for us to be there. God's intention, and Jesus, I believe, knew this, that it was absolutely important for us to be able to forgive. Because in forgiving, we kept our hearts open. In forgiving, we didn't get locked up in this angry mess that goes life. In forgiving, we have a new day tomorrow. Not just for ourselves, but for our families. See, that's the sad thing, is that when somebody hurts us, we lose once. When we become so angry at them that our life is all about getting even, we lose twice. And in the end, we will die. Because God's love we will not be able to find because we are so hardened and so hurt. Another congregation that I was serving, I had a young girl who was a freshman in high school who was killed in a traffic accident. It was a very difficult time for her family. Her mother had not been used to attending church. But her best friend said to her, "Let's go to church and let's worship." And they came for 3 months to help the healing process. What I knew that the congregation that I was serving didn't know is that the friend who made sure she got to church to find healing was Jewish. And she sat with her to make sure that she got to feel the healing presence of Jesus Christ, even though that was not part of who she was. And I thought to myself, would I do that? Would I be caring and compassionate and loving enough that I would go to a mosque and sat with a brother who was hurting and in pain? Would I go to a Jewish synagogue? Would I go to the Roman Catholic Church? Would I go to a Pentecostal church? So that I could go with somebody who's searching and finding and yearning? That's the kind of love Jesus is asking of us, rather than to be caught up in the anger and the miserableness. It's easy to talk about this within the culture of the United States, but I'm going to meddle a little bit. Because it's not just in the United States. Sometimes it's in our family. Sometimes it's in our congregation. Sometimes it's in our school. Something has happened, and we are so angry about it, and sometimes we've even forgotten what it was that started the mess. But we hold on to it. We hold on to it. And we stay angry. And God struggles and struggles and struggles to get his love made known to us. That's what James is so specific to us. Not to be angry. Not to react from anger. But to listen, to speak, and to seek the love of Jesus Christ, which would have us sow seed in the backyard of one whose dog killed our child. These are not easy words. But I ask that we have a heart to understand them and a soul to live them out. For the world will be changed when they see us loving those who dump garbage in our lawn. When they see us loving those who do harm to us. Who see us loving those who are difficult to love. Remember, after all the torture, after all the pain, after all the beating, as he was hanging on the cross, one of Jesus' last words were, "Forgive them, for they do not know what they do." May we find the ability to forgive and to be strong in Jesus Christ. Let us pray.